Welcome to Dream Small, where we believe God does big things through the small and everyday faithfulness of His people. I'm Jason.
And I'm Whitney. We're a family of 8 who's fostered, adopted, and stumbled our way through learning that small, everyday choices can change lives.
In a world that tells you to chase big, we dare you to dream small.
Because you know what? It's not about chasing fame. It's about choosing faithfulness. All right, we are back. Thank you for joining the Dream Small podcast. We have a extremely special guest joining us today. This is a woman who I was blessed to meet a couple years ago through, I guess, our daughters becoming friends around the same time we met at church. We kind of met through 2 different avenues there, but super excited to meet Bree, for you guys to meet Bree. I got to know her. I did not know for quite a while, but she and her siblings have some experience, to say the least, in the foster care system. So when we started our podcast, I reached out to Bree and I said, I would love for you to share part of your story if you're willing. And it took a little bit, which I completely understand, but I'm so thankful that she is here and willing to share some parts of her life so vulnerably. So Bree, I'm so excited that you're joining us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for speaking into the life of the other side of the story. You know, like us being foster parents, we can only speak into so much, but you have lived it in a completely different way. So I'm just so thankful. I don't even want to say excited because that feels wrong. Like, I don't want to be excited that this has been your history, right? But I'm so grateful that you're willing to, you know, share your heart, kind of shed light on this side of it for everyone. So thank you.
I am excited for listeners to hear your story, because it's just like Whitney said, it's the other side of so much of what we've talked about. You're an adult now. You have an incredible family. I got to spend a day this summer with one of her daughters at Kings Island with my 2 big kids, and she is a delight. So Bree's a delight, and we've served together at church. So Bree's awesome. Can't wait for her to share her story with everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you guys being patient, and there was no pressure to join. Like, it was just, if you want to, then welcome. And I really appreciated that, because I think this is the first time since I turned 18 that I've really had some way to talk about it that maybe felt constructive or like it would be helpful. And it's not just me like dumping a lot of weird information on people.
I get that. Totally get that.
And at the same time, it's, you know, it's your lived experience. Like, this is your story. So as much as it feels like weird information, I think there's so much of value and insight to be shared within it. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Before we get started,
do you want to start out?
I was going to say, tell us about your family now. Like, what's going on? You're married, kids, dogs, cats, snakes, rabbits, whatever. Give everybody a lowdown on what you're doing now.
If you ever see a snake anywhere near me, it's not by choice. So we'll start with that. But Corey and I have been married. We just celebrated 12 years. We actually got married, I want to say it was like 2 months after I turned 18. We did not really know each other. We were 2 people that had been through some stuff and I guess kind of trauma bonded, and thank the Lord that it was a good bond, because
right,
that could have been bad. But yeah, no, we've got 5 kids now. They're all 11 and under. And then for some crazy reason, we decided to get a dog in January. So we've got Callie also. She's 10 months old. But yeah, we've been through a lot over the years. There was definitely several times that I was questioning whether our marriage was going to get to that 12-year mark. And now that we're there, we're like, I'm so glad that we fought for it, because it's definitely been really good.
Awesome.
That's a great way to put it. I mean, you do have to fight for it. Like, you have to fight for a healthy relationship, any type of relationship, right? Like, it doesn't always come easy. So
giving up is definitely so much easier sometimes.
Yeah.
So before we hopped on the recording here, Bree shared that her and her husband almost started a podcast, and based on what you just shared with me, you guys should absolutely start a podcast, and what you shared you should talk about. I'll be your first listener.
Okay, well, we'll do that then, and I'll hold you to that.
Perfect. So, Bree, go ahead and start sharing your story and what you want to share, what you don't want to share. And again, like Whitney, just to echo what Whitney said, so grateful you're going to be willing to share your story with people. A lot of people I don't think have ever talked with a kiddo, a human, an adult who had been a foster kiddo and been an adult and has an incredible family. And so it's so interesting. People are going to be so blessed by your story and understand it's hard. It's a lot of things. So go ahead.
Well, I guess I should just start by saying I'm the second oldest of 11. My mom had the first 9 when we lived with her, and then my younger 2 siblings she had after I was like a grown adult. So she's got 2 children that are the same age as Owen and Nolan, I want to say. So she's got an 8 and a 4-year-old. Okay. My younger sister was actually born 4 hours after my son. So that was a really weird.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pregnant and gave birth at the same time, same day. It was very odd. But
was it in the same hospital?
No, but she did call and she was like, "Hey, I'm giving birth to your sister. FaceTime me." And I was like, "No, I'm giving birth to your grandson. I'm not doing that."
Oh, wow.
So, we hadn't talked in several years. So when she was texting me, I was like, "Who's giving birth to who? And why are you texting me?" So I was super confused. I was like pushing a baby out, like, who is texting me asking to FaceTime? So that was odd. But so we there's 11 kids. There are 9 different fathers. If you see me and my siblings in a lineup, you would never pick us out of a group. You would never know that we were related. I don't have any, I guess you would call them full siblings. But we lived with my mom. We were we were weird kids, to be honest. We didn't go to school until I was in 5th grade.
Did anyone ever ask about that? Like neighbors, any adults, around?
My mom would so we lived in Oklahoma for a while, and their homeschool laws back in the early 2000s and the 90s were so lax. It was like, don't kill your kids and, good to go. But we also moved around so much that I don't think people really got the chance to get the story. And my mom is a very charming, charismatic person. Like anyone who meets her loves her because she's very good at drawing people in. So I don't think that they ever suspected anything odd. Right. So it was kind of one of the things that frustrated us a lot is like, we get investigated by DCS all the time, but they like my mom so much that like they'll go get coffee with her after they investigate us.
Wow.
It was kind of one of those weird things. And there were times that they would get a call and a complaint, and instead of coming to the house, they would just call my mom's phone and just chat with her. And she'd be like, "Oh no, that's crazy. Why would they say that? Anyway, let's hang out next week."
Oh, wow. Oh, that had been like so hard for you guys.
It was definitely frustrating. Yeah. Cause there was a time that my brother and my mom got into a physical altercation and he was missing for a week straight. Like, gone. And he was in 6th grade. So he was maybe 11 and was missing for a week. And DCS, nothing was done.
Was this in Oklahoma still?
We were in Ohio at this point. So, okay. I mean, we lived in probably 8 or 9 states growing up.
Wow.
We
so you didn't
everywhere.
Just move around like a 15-mile radius. Like
no,
you like moved.
No, we were all over the place. And I mean, and again, there's 9 fathers. So not only were we moving states and we were moving houses, every single time that she was with somebody new, that person immediately had full parenting privileges to discipline however they wanted, to do whatever they wanted in the house. And there were times that there was not a dating period. Like there were times that she came home one day and somebody was with her and she was like, "Hey, we're together now and he lives here." And we were like, what's your name? So yeah, I mean, it was, and we were just expected to just roll with it.
Wow.
So yeah, that was rough, but we didn't, She likes to separate it because I guess it is a bit different, but we started out in kinship care. My grandmother took us. So my mom likes to say that we didn't spend as long in foster care because we were with a family member, but we still had caseworkers and all the state mandated stuff that we had to do. And we lived with my grandmother, who is just an older version of my mom.
Okay.
So if you know the things that my mom does and then you meet her mom, you're like, oh yeah, this checks out,
So this wasn't much of a better situation then.
No. And my gran is one of those people that she is religious. I would never say that she is Christian. She reads the Bible and she will interpret it however she wants. And then it's kind of weaponized against you. So our bad behavior was something that needed prayed over and we just weren't loving God enough. And so it felt really icky, which led to a really hard time actually really believing when I was growing up, because it just seemed like it was forced down our throats, but then also used against us as like a punishment sometimes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we went into kinship care. I want to say I was maybe end of my 8th grade year. We had a stepdad that was a little bit too interested in myself and some of my friends that were coming over, and my mom did not want to end that relationship. And so he was still coming around while we were going through court. And so they caught him at the house living in the garage. And so when we were actually first taken, we were at home. It was a weekend. And the cops just showed up and no questions, no nothing. They just said, you're coming with us. They took her out of the house. My grandmother lived in Arkansas at the time. So a family friend that just sometimes babysat, she lived at our house for 3 days and took care of us until my gran can come up. But yeah, they came in and carried my mom out. There was no explanation, no anything. Like, she was just gone.
So did you have any idea at that point, like what was going on?
I knew that the stepdad was still around, and I knew that he was not supposed to be. I knew that she would get in trouble if people had found out, but I didn't know that it was going to be so permanent, I guess. I just figured that, okay, well, she's probably going to get in trouble, but she's going to come back at some point. And she didn't. Like, from that day forward, we never lived back with my mother until after I turned 18.
Oh, wow. So like that was it. Like,
yeah.
Wow.
When that happened, were you scared, relieved, confused? Like, what kind of emotion? You were said 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
So we know 8th grade is a very simplistic emotional time for a girl anyway.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine what your little heart was going through at that time.
Part of me was relieved because I had so much anger towards my mom for even letting that man around. She will, and we've talked about this now that I'm an adult and it's not gone anywhere productive, but she will say that she never doubted me, that she always believed me about the accusations against my stepdad. But at the time, it did not feel that way. There was accusations from me and one of my friends, and she would just absolutely trash talk my friend and how she was asking for it or that, all this other stuff, but then would also turn around and say that she believed me. And it was hard for me because I'm like, well, what's the difference? I was old enough to go, well, it's the same thing. So why are you talking like that about her? But then you're like, and she just really pulled away from me. We weren't close. We didn't really talk. She would say, I remember clear as day one day, she looked at me and she said, you better make sure that you want to go down this road, because when it goes to court, we're going to rake you over the coals.
Wow. From your mom?
From my mom.
Oh.
And she, again, we've talked about this now in my adult life. And she goes, well, I wasn't saying I didn't believe you. I was just saying that you better make sure that your story's consistent. And I'm like, but for an 8th grader, like, even if that was what you intended to say, the way it was presented was not, that wasn't support. Yeah. Like, that was scary.
Well, and honestly, I mean, just looking at the facts, like, if you're making this accusation and he's still around, that would lead you to believe she does not take you seriously, right?
No. Yeah. And my grandmother, for a while, she also didn't believe me. And her suggestion to find out if I was lying was, she said, well, if she is lying, she's not going to be able to look him in the face and tell him. So she made me go out to this country diner and sit across the table from him in public and recount the entire accusation in front of him And he just stared me down the entire time, stuffing his face full of food. And then when I was done talking, he goes, "Are you done now?"
Wow.
And I said, "Yeah." And my grand just looked at me and she just kind of nodded. And then she sent us out to the parking lot together. She goes, "I'm going to settle the bill. You guys go outside and wait by the car," and set me outside with him. And he just stood there and he said, "I hope you know I'm not going anywhere."
Wow.
And he said, "You'll be gone before I'm gone." And he was right, because we went into foster care and we lived with my grand, and it still took several months before the relationship with my mom was ended. And it didn't actually end until he became abusive to her. And he put her in the hospital. And then at that point she was like, "Oh, well, maybe this isn't the best relationship." But
wow.
it took that much for that to be done.
I know we're going to get into more. Just curious, your husband,
mm-hmm.
How does he not just go find these people that hurt you in the past and
retaliate
and just do awful things?
He has. So my gran, I don't keep contact with my gran. She's never met my children. My mom has met my children one time, but she was not introduced to them as grandmother. She was just somebody that we know. So he's very strong on letting me advocate for myself and my wants and how I want to set those boundaries. And if I told him, "Hey, I'm going to go to my mom's house and start a fist fight," he's like, "Okay, I'll wait in the car with it running." And he's like, but also if I'm like, "Hey, I want to have a conversation and I'd like it to stay peaceful," he'll just sit there, and whether he agrees or not, if she starts getting nasty, he'll step in, but he kind of just lets me lead. Because I think that until recently I was still working through it on such an emotional level that, but the stepdad, I've not seen him since I was probably 14. He up and moved states and remarried to another woman, from what I hear. And she has young daughters also. So that always kind of hurt my heart a little bit, just to be curious as once they got to their mature age and became interesting to him, how that would go. But I'm not sure.
Good for Corey for, just letting you kind of lead, right? Yeah. And just being a support for you.
Yeah, he's fantastic. He has definitely helped me learn to be strong and set those boundaries, but also like, hey, if you're going to do it, you better make sure that you're ready to double down and hold it. Mm-hmm. He's my biggest source of accountability, but also my biggest support. And, I think awesome. That I've definitely needed that quite a bit. So
sure. Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, but we when we moved in with my grandmother, our house, I didn't realize, I think when you're living in a home and you're raised there, you're kind of used to the standard of cleanliness or lack thereof. And we didn't get to take anything with us. The house was so dirty and infested with roaches and stuff that we had like a Walmart bag with a change of clothes in it per kid.
Where you were living with your mom?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so the family friend that came and stayed with us for those 3 days, I don't think I saw her stop cleaning a single time. I mean, from the minute she walked in that house, she walked in, she pulled her phone out and stepped on the front porch and had a conversation. And about an hour later, her husband showed up with, a truck full of cleaning supplies. And they just started ripping the house apart.
So that family friend probably had no idea the condition.
That's what I was going to ask. Mm-mm. Yeah, so that family friend had no idea.
No, probably not. And we lived in a nice neighborhood. We lived in, if you looked across the house, some of the houses look like mansions. I don't even know how we afforded to live where we lived, but I do know that we got evicted quite a bit because the houses were destroyed. Roaches, dog feces, just, the whole thing was just not taken care of.
Like everything you see on the news was your life.
Yeah.
It sounds like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I made a comment earlier. I said my childhood is a mixture of Judge Judy and Jerry Springer, and and it really is. There have been several times that people are like, "You should write a book," and I'm like, "It'd have to be a whole series."
Right?
Yeah.
It would have to be so many, and I've always thought it would be interesting if I did have a healthy relationship with my siblings to get their perspective on there, but. I don't see that ever happening, but it'd be interesting.
That could be quite the memoir. Yeah.
And and the thing is, some of the things you would share, people probably wouldn't believe it, right? Like a lot of the things you probably experienced, most people would assume is fiction.
Yeah, 100%. And I've had people tell me that before, like, "You're joking, right?" And I'm like, why would I joke about that? And they're like, that sounds like something you would see on TV.
Wild. because like Jason said, when we introduced you, there's not a lot of adults who are, functioning, healthy adults who have grown up in the system that are willing or able to speak into their experience or that have a platform to do so. You're an anomaly. Like, there's not a lot of people out there that now have, like, you've broken those generational cycles, right? Like, you've broken free from those chains. You have a beautiful, healthy, strong family who loves Jesus, and you're able to speak into your past. Like, you have had to overcome so much. I know that, to be able to do that, right? And I think there's just so much value in your experience and what you have to share, because people who have not grown up in the system have no idea what you've gone through. And they want to think it's fiction. Like, they want to think you're making it up, right? Because it's hard for humans to imagine such heartache and awful conditions, right? Like, it's just hard. It's easier to be like, oh, you're joking. And you're like, well, actually, no, this was my life. So I'm again so thankful you're willing to share your story.
Well, and I think part of the reason it was so hard for me to get to a place where I did want to even sit and talk to you guys is because the younger two siblings, 10 and 11, they're still children. So it's hard to kind of know what their future will look like. But many of my other siblings they're not. They're following right along with my mom. Several of them still live with my mom, and she enables their behavior. And I think it's one of those things that it's so similar to how she lived that she won't criticize it because it feels like criticizing herself.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So but it is hard. I have a younger sister, and she's, I want to say 2 years younger than me. And she's got 5 kids by 5 different dads. She doesn't work. She, has had abortions and all kinds of stuff. She, is an alcoholic. She's had several issues with the law. And I have another brother that everyone in the family knows is a drug dealer, and he lives with my mom. And she's like, oh, he had a rough life. And it's like, well, yeah, but at what point do we start taking accountability to change that? All of my siblings are approaching 30, the ones that have the big issues. And it's like, at what point do we separate and have to just break free? And I think that's the main difference, is that they still are in a place where they yearn for that relationship with their mom, that bond.
Yeah.
And I had to, despite wanting it, despite still, I'm in my 30s, and there's still times I'll just cry. I'm like, I wish to goodness that I could call my mom.
Right. Yeah. Of course you do. Like, that's an innate need, right?
Yeah. But it just, I had to cut that for myself and for my children, because I was not a good, healthy person when I was in contact with her. So I think that that's the main difference, is that when you cut those generational curses, sometimes you have to cut ties completely.
Yeah.
And it hurts a lot. So
you know what? Yeah, we've said it before, just like the right thing, even though it's the right thing, it can still stink and hurt really bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know we're like not even anywhere near through your story, but I just want to take a second and say, and I think I'm speaking on behalf of every single person that will be listening, as well as Jason and myself, I am so proud of you for taking all of those hard steps to break those generational curses and that generational cycle, and showing up and being the mom to your 5 kids that you wish you had all along. Like, that
takes a lot of courage.
Easy. It takes a lot of courage. Yeah. You've completely done a 180 from what anyone would have expected. Like, the majority of people would say, like, well, it's like, of course they turned out that way, right? Like, look at what they grew up with. Of course they did. But you're saying, no, like, that's not good enough. And I'm so proud of you for that.
Well, thank you. I was trying not to get emotional on you.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I appreciate that so much. Yeah.
You need to hear it. You need to hear it.
Yeah, you do need to hear it. I mean, we're, like we said, like Whit said, we're not very far to your story, but just overcoming, what I know of your story is what you shared today, overcoming all that and being incredible wife and mom is just unbelievable.
And I mean, even just, coming from us being adoptive parents and foster parents, I can only pray that the children that we raise grow up to be as strong and wise and intentional and responsible as you are. And they choose to take that hard road and to be a better person, right? And to break those cycles, because you're changing your family for generations because of that, right? So it's amazing.
Have any of your others, we don't have to go into detail on this, have any of your other siblings overcome the way you have?
I have my only older sibling. Yes and no. He lives on his own. He was married. He did end up getting divorced, and I think a lot of that is due to unhealed trauma that led to issues in his marriage. But I mean, as far as what you would consider his life, he's doing better than what most people would expect.
Okay.
I have some younger siblings, and I'm actually so proud of them. They make me emotional on a daily basis. They are in college. They are living on their own. They are working jobs, and they still make, silly, like early 20s mistakes, but that's typical for the age. And so they are, again, they're doing the work. And I tell them all the time, like, don't wait until you're my age, because having rage and triggers and flipping out on people because you're not dealing with your stuff is not cute in your mid to late 20s. Like, you need to work on that now while it's still kind of like, oh, they're young and they're figuring it out. It's like, because you can only use that for so long, but they're doing it, and I'm so proud of them. But yeah,
I love that they have you as a guide and a model. Like, you've paved the way for them, right? They just have to choose that path now. So yeah. That's awesome.
They're really good kids, and they still go out. And like I said, they do some of the stuff, and I never did. I never went out drinking and partying, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what though? Is that a lot different than some other kids that are in college? No, let's not be overly harsh on them, even if it's not what I would choose. And I tell them, just be safe, go to your job, be responsible, and they're doing both. So I'm like, you know what? We'll take it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Just, a lot of people haven't experienced what you have. So I kind of want to give listeners just a quick visual glimpse into like what it's like to be a kid in foster care. Could you kind of go through your first day and what you felt, what you experienced first day, first week, just what that was like, even though you knew you were in a bad spot and it was still hard?
Yeah. So when we left kinship care, we were actually taken into foster care twice in 1 week. So we were gone in some random house for 2 days, all split up, sent back to my grandmother, and then taken back into foster care like 3 days later.
Wow.
So from what I understand, there were some accusations made. They tried to dig into those, didn't have anything substantial to back them. And then somebody came forward with proof after we had been back in her house. So
wow.
So we went through this grieving process twice of, I'm terrified. I don't know where I am. I don't know where any of my siblings are. And the foster parents don't have any information on my siblings, because why would they?
Right. Yeah.
And then the relief of at least being back together, even though it wasn't ideal, just to be pulled apart again.
Oh.
So
you were 8th grade, right?
That
was when you went into kinship care. So how old were you when you went into foster care?
I want to say maybe 16 when we were taken from my gran. So we were with my gran for about 2 years, and then we did about 2 to 2.5 years in actual foster care.
How many siblings did you have at the time?
9.
Whew.
Yeah.
And your gran had all of them?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. So she had all of us. So we were taken from her. We were all split up because most people don't have room to take in 9 children, and most of them didn't want to. One of my brothers was extremely, they kind of, I guess they list them in foster care as like high level. He was the top tier. I mean, he was on behavioral medications. He had bipolar disorder. So he was actually taken and put in an institute, like a boys' home. And it looked like a prison. I mean, like full on barbed wire fences. But he was pretty violent, and he was young. He was maybe 9 or 10.
Wow.
He had tried to commit suicide several times leading up to when we were taken. But they were testing a lot of medications on him. And so those were some of the side effects, you know. We've come strides since we were younger and kind of the mental health field for kids and researching that. And I wish that we had the knowledge and research that now back then, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we were all kind of split up. I had actually been in a car accident the night before, and I was in the emergency room getting my head stitched up, and a sheriff came in and dragged my gran out and sat there, and he looked at me and goes, "I'm really sorry, but I'm just doing my job." And he stood there while I got my head stitched up. And
wow.
I was driven over to the DCS office and laid on her floor and slept for 2 hours until the foster parents showed up to take us. And I was with my younger sister, Emily. We were the only two in that house together.
Wow. You had no idea where the other 7 were.
No. And I asked them and they said, "We don't have that information right now. Like, we are just in charge of you two. There's so many of you. They had to put several people on this. But you know, they're going to be fine. You know, just worry about yourself right now." And I think that was one of the hardest things is when we asked, it was kind of like, it was treated like a everyone for themselves type of thing. You know, you can't worry about them right now. You just need to worry about yourself. But that was so opposite of how we grew up, because we didn't have a mom that was at home, like active a lot. We practically raised our younger siblings. And
you being the oldest female, it probably was very natural for you to care for them, clearly worry about them, right? Like, you felt like the mom, I'm sure you took on a lot of that role.
Yeah. Well, when I was in 6th grade, my newborn brother's crib got put in my room because they would wake me up so much through the night to help take care of him that they were like, "Oh, you know what? Why walk up the stairs and we could just put the baby crib in your bedroom?" So I was waking up in 6th grade, and when I was thinking about this podcast the other night, I was sitting there going, "Wow, that's Addison's age."
Right. I was just thinking that. Like we joke with Lainey, like she's like, "Can I hold the baby?" And I'm like, "You can hold him at 2 a.m." But like, clearly it's a joke, right? But
right.
I mean, I'm not joking. I'll go wake her up at 2 a.m. to hold the baby.
But yeah, I mean, his crib was in my room, and then I was expected to get up the next morning and walk to school and come home and get home and do your chores, and you better not have an attitude, and you better, you know, help cook dinner and clean up and bathe the kids and
then be up all night with the baby.
And that just was what it was. Yeah. And my mom, she always will tell people she asked to put the crib in there. And I'm like, I said it in a sarcastic way of, well, if you're bringing him upstairs at this point, why not just put his crib in my room? And then I came home from school that day and his crib is in my room.
Well, I mean, yeah, Lanny could say, "Put the crib in my room," and we'd be like, "No, we're not doing it." So feel free to tell me you don't want to talk about it. So from the outside, it sounds like anybody would look at your mom and perceive her to be a quote unquote normal functioning person.
Yeah.
Did she have mental health problems? Did she have drug problems? Like, what led her to not do, like, do you even know? Or was she just selfish? Like, what do you think it was, if you know at all?
So there is documentation saying that there was drug usage, but it was never something that's prominent enough that I saw it firsthand. It does not surprise me by any means, just because of some of the men that she was with.
Sure.
And it's one of those things that she will adamantly say, "I never used drugs and I never did this and I never abused you." It was always the men. The men did drugs, or the men drank, or the men. And it's like, well, at some point it's a pattern. If all 9 of the men you were with did drugs, drank, and beat everybody, it seems like maybe you had some part in that as well. But yeah, she will quote scripture to you, and she helps people out, and she'll babysit your kids and go out to dinner. Like, she is a girl's girl. And I mean, like, that was always the biggest frustration, is she draws people in and they want to be near her. She's one of those people that makes you want to be in their presence. And she's got this, I've always loved her laugh. She's got this loud, crazy cackle, and she will draw attention from across the room, and people will
I know somebody with a laugh like that.
Well, but I mean, and it always drew people in, and they'd want to come talk to her and see it was so funny. And so then when there were accusations, or when we did get the courage to finally approach a teacher and talk to them, they would go, "Your mom? your mom that was just here at the PTO meeting, your mom that was just here at the conference, your mom that's on the volunteer fire department. It was a shock. And it was like, well, yeah.
Wow.
And then a couple months later, we'd up and move to a different city, and the process would start all over.
I'm so glad you shared that. I asked that question because you'd kind of shared a little bit before, so that everybody listening knows, hey, kids that need help, that are hurting, that are being neglected, aren't necessarily the kids that we stereotypical think of, right? Like the kids running around and barefoot and soggy diapers and no food. Like, a lot of people are really good at hiding their skeletons, right? And they come across perfectly good, normal family. Like you said, the houses you lived in looked like mansions, big homes. The outside, everything looked good. On the inside, behind the walls, it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
One thing I want, Bree, I know we had a really productive conversation after one of our episodes when I think Jason and I were talking about like the per diem and how we were debunking myths and talking about how foster parents don't do it for the money. You don't get that much money, yada, yada, yada. Right. And I remember you said to me, you were like, this is a hill I will die on, because there are people, you opened my eyes up to saying, there actually, unfortunately, are people that do it for the money. Can you share a little bit of that experience?
Yeah. So one of my foster homes, we had lived there for 3 months. They weren't sure that they wanted to have all of us. We moved to a different home in Berea, Kentucky. And then we ended up going back to the original foster home. And when we went back, they were looking at the file and the documentation they got. And right in front of me and my sister, they said, well, that's annoying. Why did they get $931 a month for you and we're only getting $900? And they picked the phone up to call and argue over that extra $1 a day. And
oh my goodness.
We did not do sports. I had to work a job. My foster parents, many of them, the week I moved in the house, it was, how many applications did you put out? Do you need soap? If you're not wanting stuff that's from Dollar General or, feminine hygiene products that aren't Dollar Tree cardboard, go buy them yourself. And
my goodness.
My clothing, my sports, my cap and gown, everything, it was paid for out of my own pocket.
Wow. They're actually getting money.
And they're getting money. And we knew how much they were getting. And in some of these homes, they would take 5 or 6 of my siblings and they would be making several $1,000s off of us. And they were living like it, but we were not
putting it towards you guys at all.
No, we did not do sports. We did not get school pictures. The clothes that we got were hand-me-downs or from Goodwill or clothing closets, which is fine. We were already used to that, but it's different thinking, okay, well, my mom is getting these things because there's so many of us and she doesn't have the money. They're getting paid for us and they are just not using it for us. And so there was that resentment of, hey, I need $60. I want to go. My shoes ripped. No, we're not doing that. Or they would go.
You shared a story about wearing hand-me-down pajama pants like your first day in a new school. Am I right with that?
Yep. They did not fit. They were actually my foster moms. They were way too big around the waist and they were way too small on the legs. And they had the Grinch all over them with little Christmas lights. And it was not Christmas time.
And this was like middle school or high school?
This was high school. I think this was my junior year, I think. And that was the first impression people got of me was walking in, wearing that. And there were foster parents that would get us gifts for Christmas. And there's like an inventory list that you typically will get with a foster child of what they come to you with and what's given to them while they're in the home, and it follows them. Those items would never make it onto our inventory list. So any of our nice items would be kept and used for other kids or for their own biological kids or something, our iPads or our Kindles or anything like that. I was going to say,
so that would be like if we purchased like the iPad that we purchased for our foster daughter, if we had used her annual stipend for that and then not let it go with her wherever she went next. Oh, gosh.
So, and it was just stuff like that. But yeah, and there was always this weird tension with the biological children because you're old enough to know this is not their fault, but also still a kid enough and wanting that to go, this is not fair.
Right.
You know, there's 4 of us shoved into one bedroom with no privacy, no nothing, and clothes that barely fit. But you have your own bedroom with a flat screen TV and you're wearing the nice name brand leggings and you've got a Kate Spade purse going to school and we're getting on the same bus stop in the driveway. And I look like this and you look like that.
I just remembered something else that you told me. And it might be this home, it might be a different home, but didn't you say that there was one of the families that you were with, they would essentially say, we're having time with our kids right now, so you need to go to your bedroom?
Yeah. So there were homes that were like, there's a term for it in foster care communities, and I'm drawing a blank on it, but it's wide enough known with foster children that if you go into some of these groups, to talk to other people, it's like an actual term. But yeah, we were called bedroom kids or something like that, where we were not allowed out of the bedroom. The family living spaces, the different stuff, we ate at separate tables. We were not allowed to sit in the family room. My siblings actually grew up in a home like that. And when we would go visit, they would act so weird because when we would go in the home to visit, we'd be like, well, why aren't you guys sitting there? Like, oh, we're not supposed to, and the foster parents would get them in trouble and try to cover it up.
So completely segregated. It's basically like racial segregation
with foster kids. Yeah, basically.
Foster children.
Yeah. It was just.
So from the outside looking in, would people perceive these foster parents to be good people as well? Normal, good parents, good families, or not much?
I really don't know. To be honest, I was in such an angry, bitter place that I did my bare minimum to be near them. I didn't care about, I wanted to be out of the house as much as possible and would just go walk the community or find a job and work 30 or 40 hours a week. I always had them sign the waiver. So even though I was a minor, I could work full on closing shifts and wouldn't get home till after midnight. And
they probably didn't care.
No. And I mean, there were some homes that was like, hey, if you're working a closing shift after 8, go home with a coworker because my door locks at 8. And so I would go stay at a friend's house.
I was hoping you were going to say, they'd say, hey, call me and I can pick you up so you don't have to walk home in the dark.
No, some foster parents were really great. And some of them did. They would let me drive. I had my license. And that was something that was a really hard adjustment, is that some foster parents would really take the time to get to know you. And, hey, you have your license. Do you actually know how to drive? Let me take you out and just see. Okay, yeah, you're safe.
So you did have some good foster parents.
Yes, I did have some good foster.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, no, they were not all bad. I think it's just because there's so many of us, it was so overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that if there's a sibling group that's together and you don't want to keep half of the sibling group, you don't always get the choice to pick and choose which kids you're keeping,
Right.
So, but yeah, I had some foster parents. I'd be like, you know what? It's raining outside here. Take the car. Just be super safe. Text me when you get there or call me from the work phone, whatever. Okay, great. But then we'd move to a different home. And before you even walked in the door, it was, you're getting read your Bill of Rights. You better not do this. And this is not going to fly. And it's you didn't even give me a chance to act up.
Right.
Yeah. I don't even know your name yet. Where are we going?
Do you even know my name right now? Yeah.
Well, and my sister and I, we moved out to a home in Berea, and there was 6 of us there, but 4 of our siblings were already in the home and we were added after the fact. And we had a 2-hour drive home from Lexington, and the entire drive home, it was basically we already know that you're drinking. We already know that you're having sex. We already know that you're doing all these things. Don't come to my house drunk. Don't come to my house after 8 p.m. And if you get pregnant, you will not be having that baby in my house. And they took us the next day down to the public health building and we're we're getting these 2 girls on birth control.
What?
My sister was in 7th grade.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
I was in 10th grade, I think, at this point. I mean, and I'd barely even kissed a boy. I'd never tasted alcohol. But when you tell them that, they're like, yeah, we've heard that before. And it was very much, my mind is already made up and I don't care what you have to say. Like, even if you're not doing it, you're going to be on this because I'm not dealing with it. And my sister.
So they already labeled you guys as the standard foster kids. You were the normal, stereotypical, quote unquote, bad teenage foster kids. Man. Yeah.
Everything you say is a lie. We don't believe you. We've read your case file. We know, and it's like, okay, me and my sister, we were straight A students. We were, the teachers were always shocked that we were in foster care. Like when we did parent teacher conferences and they walked in like, oh, this is your mom. And we're like, well, it's my foster mom. They'd be like, wait, what?
Wow.
And so
they didn't fit the stereotype.
No, we did not. And so when we had foster parents that were like that, it was kind of like, okay. And that was the foster home that I ended up aging out of with Donna and David down in Berea. I aged out of that home, and my sister stayed, and she did get pregnant twice in high school, and she had an abortion, and she delivered one of the babies and gave it up. And she got hooked on alcohol, and she was doing all the stereotypical things. And it was kind of like, I'm already being accused of doing it. So
why not do it?
Why not do it? You're going to treat me like I'm doing it anyway. So I'm going to do it.
Yeah. You pretty much wrote my story. So, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 quick questions. There's a lot of different stories from a lot of different homes. Do you know how many foster homes you were in?
So you went into foster care, you said about 16 or so, right? After Ken show, 16 to 18. How many different homes were you in that 2.5 year span?
I want to say I switched high schools 3 times my senior year. And I think my junior year, I had 2 different homes. So maybe 5 in 2 years.
Okay. Wow. And at any point, did anyone provide any type of therapy for you or your siblings that you're aware of? Nothing.
No. So we were with a foster care agency called NECO down in Kentucky. They did like a once a month case management thing where we had to go to the office and we would meet with the case manager, and then we'd go do like a 15 to 20 minute therapy thing to talk to a counselor. But the foster parents stayed in the room, and sometimes we had siblings in the room. So they'd be like, is everything good? And the foster parents like standing right behind you, and you're like, yeah,
obviously, yeah,
we're thriving.
So you didn't have like any built-in supports for you as a child in foster care, as a teenage girl who has gone through so much loss and trauma and experience her whole life.
No,
nothing. Ugh.
Nope. And there were programs for when we turned 18, they had, you get 4 years of free college if you're in foster care. And it's like, okay, you can live on one of the Kentucky State College campuses in like a foster home apartment. But it was not something that sounded inviting. It was like, hey, we're going to randomly pop up through the month and check on you. We're going to drug test you. You have to keep a full-time job. We're going to show up to your work and do audits on. And so for me, just coming out of the situations I was in, that process through my mind as here's how we're going to control you for 4 more years.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
And I wish I would have taken advantage of the free college, because they didn't really tell you that you could do the college without doing the apartment. I didn't find that out until after. So I was like, I don't want to do any more case management. I don't want to be forced to be drug tested. And like, that's so invasive and having you come to my work. And so I didn't do any of it. And then as my siblings got older and I started helping them through the process, I realized, oh, you don't have to do that. You can still get the 4 years of free college with the waiver. But I was just in such a bitter, angry place that I was like, screw you guys. I'm 18. Don't ever talk to me again. So that if I could go back and change one thing, I would have done college earlier, because I'm 31 almost, just now finishing my master's degree and like paying all of it out of pocket. So,
Yeah, I know that's like the one benefit.
You should have joined the military.
I did. So, I did not. My husband did. No,
okay.
I was going to say, I did use part of my husband's GI Bill that was left that he did not use. So that was great. It paid for my bachelor's degree, but my master's is out of pocket, which is not terrible. But
What branch was your husband in?
He was in the Army National Guard. So he did like 14 years and just could not hold on for that 15th for partial retirement, I guess.
It's hard. Yeah, I get it. Okay. Let's wrap up this episode. What's one parting thing, Bree, your whole experience, what's one thing you want everybody else to know about whatever it is? I was going to lead you, but I don't keep it very wide, very open, so you can share whatever it is on your heart you want people to know.
Yeah, I would say for foster parents that especially are dealing with, I would say middle school or older children, just get to know them and be real. I know you get a case file, throw that out the window. Like, it's good to kind of know some of the stuff, but really get to know the kid, because they had no say in what goes in that case file. Sometimes that was put together by people that really don't know the child. They're taking a bunch of hearsay and just kind of dumping in there of what might be a trigger, and just be real with them. I wish that more parents would have just had real conversations about what the options were, not from a foster care standpoint, but just as if I'm your kid. Like, if I'm your kid, what college do you want me to go to? What do you think I'm capable of? Don't limit me to what's free because I don't have any other options. Treat me as if I'm capable of just doing anything that any other kid can do. Because that was something that just, it wasn't offered. It was like, hey, because of your history and your background, you're so limited. This is the only thing you can do. And it makes you want to rebel against it, Yeah, just level with them and know that their anger it's not anything personal to you. It is children trying to cope with absolutely no therapy or coping skills and have some type of control, Yeah. It looks like rebellion, but I think it really is just grasping onto anything that they can control, even if it is their own behavior.
Sure. That's such good advice.
Bree, have you seen, hold on before you say, before you get the sentimental stuff. Hold on. Have you seen, what's the movie with all the guys that do or the show with the guys that do all the fun tricks from Texas?
Dude Perfect?
Hey, Dude Perfect.
Okay.
Do you know Dude Perfect?
My kids have watched their stuff.
Okay. Have you ever seen the Rage Monster guy where he freaks out and he just pretends to be super angry and breaks stuff?
Yes.
So if I were in your shoes, I would be the Rage Monster. The fact that you are so level-headed and so kind, and it's incredible. We said we're proud of you, but and I just can't echo that enough. It's incredible what you've overcome and who you are now. And I don't even know you that well. I know you're awesome. I know you're awesome because of how awesome your little girl was when she went with me and Lainey and Benny to Kings Island, right? Like, you can tell how kids act. You can tell how their parents are. So she's an amazing little girl. So I know you and your husband are doing an incredible job raising them. So, okay, your turn, Whit.
How can I top that?
I was going to say, if you guys had met me probably 3 or 4 years ago, I was not probably a person you would let Lainey come hang out with. And so I think, again, if we do continue to do something on a regular basis, I would love to dig deep into what are things that followed you into your adult life that made your career hard, that made your relationships hard, and kind of what did that look like? Because you guys would have met me and been like, whoa, absolutely not.
Yeah.
We willing to do this as long as you want to do this. So yes, 100% yes.
Yes,
as far as I'm concerned.
A depth of perspective that we don't have access to, right? Mm-hmm. Like I said, we come from the other side of the table.
I mean, we can read books, we can listen to seminars, we can do all that, right? But that's not talking to a person who's been through the system.
Yeah, you're literally inside and people the mind of the children that we're fostering, right? Like part of you, I can see even through them, like when you talk about, the outburst and the anger, I see that in a 6-year-old, right? Yeah. Like I see it. So I get it. And you give her a voice, truly. Yeah. Like she hasn't found that voice yet to articulate her feelings. It's coming from you, which is helpful, I think, for any foster parent that cares enough to learn and want to help children work through this trauma. It's so helpful.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I'm glad I can be helpful in that way, I guess.
It's amazing how God can use the hardest parts of our story to, for redemption and to bless other people in ways that you would have never imagined. So, Bree, thank you so much. We are so thankful for this intro to your life. I know you have so much more to your story and more that we want to share here on our podcast. And I know we have so many more questions we want to ask you. So thank you for the time today. We look forward to interviewing you more and getting to learn more from you. Thank you to everyone who joined in and listened today. Please share this podcast with people who you think would benefit from it. And until next time, keep dreaming small.
Thank you for listening to the Dream Small podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please tap that follow button and leave us a review. It helps other people find my mom and dad's show. If you're on Spotify, please give my parents a follow and a 5-star rating. And wherever you listen, don't forget to share the show with a friend who needs a little encouragement today. You can also follow us on social media to stay in the loop. Instagram at Dream Small Podcast, Facebook Dream Small Podcast, Twitter or X at Dream Small Show. Or email us anytime at dreamsmallpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. And remember, just dream small. See you next time.